Robin, I want to thank you for taking time out for doing the Art of Fearlessly Giving Back interview. Tell us who you are and what you do for Desert Labrador Retriever Rescue.
First, thanks for having me. It's really an honor to be able to participate in this conversation with you. So my name's Robin Garrett, and I am the president of Desert Labrador Retriever Rescue, and I serve with a board of directors that consists of a secretary, a treasurer, obviously a vice president, as well as a Tucson coordinator. So we're an Arizona-based rescue that's located in both Phoenix and Tucson, but we have volunteers throughout the entire state.
Wow, that's like a huge undertaking.
Absolutely.
Not just one city, but two.
2 cities, and dogs are rescued from all over the state. Out of state, we have a volunteer that goes down to the border of Mexico.
Wow.
And rescues dogs down there too. So it's become a huge rescue, which has presented its own challenges.
Well, I'm sure. Well, why was Desert Labrador Retriever? We'll just call you Desert Labrador. How do you what's the abbreviation?
We can do DLRR. That's typically how we refer to ourselves.
So tell us why you were created.
So, in Arizona, there is an overpopulation of pets. So in 1999, there was a group of volunteers that saw that these Labrador Retrievers were being displaced. They were homeless, and they wanted to do something about it. So they came together to form DLRR so they could rescue these labs, provide them with the medical care that was needed, and then find them forever loving homes. Some of these dogs had never known what it was like to be in a loving home.
Why do you think that there is an overpopulation of animals in Arizona? That's interesting. I didn't know that.
So there is, over the years too, if you think about it, there was the financial and housing crisis. So a lot of people had to vacate their homes and foreclose. Dogs were left behind, pets are left behind. But there's also the overbreeding of pets. So one of the things that we work to do is provide public education in order to prevent the overpopulation by encouraging people to spay and neuter their pets. So we spay and neuter all of our dogs before they're made available for adoption. So these volunteers came together. They wanted to create this rescue where they could save these dogs, and over the years it grew immensely. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger, which meant more volunteers, more supporters, more lives saved.
So that kind of leads us into the next question. It sounds like you've talked a little bit about your core values. What are your core values?
Well, one of our core values is our mission. And so the mission that was set forth in 1999 was to rescue, rehabilitate, provide the medical care for these labs, and rehome them. So one of our values is to be able to provide excellent care for these dogs while they're with our rescue. And the volunteers work really hard to make sure there's a safe rescue. We work with our veterinary experts to make sure they're getting the best medical care. Any issue that arises, whether it's a surgery that's needed, valley fever treatment, we provide all of that before a dog's made adopted. Also, if we see a dog that comes in that has behavioral issues, we'll have the dog evaluated by a trainer, and if necessary, have the appropriate training before they're even made adoptable. We also have volunteers that vet our adopters. They go through a pretty rigorous application process. So there's an application, there's an interview, and then there's a home visit. So once they're approved, then
wow,
the fosters,
home visit. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then all of our dogs are in foster care. So the fosters work really hard to match their foster dog with the appropriate adoptable home because we want the best match.
You don't want to have them come back.
We don't want them to come back. And the goal is to have them in their forever home. Some of these dogs have been jostled around, tossed around, left as strays. We've had dogs that have been dumped out, like the trash in the dumpster.
I don't get it. I can't even imagine. I have 2 Catahoula leopards at home who I adopted from a rescue. I can't imagine. I just can't even imagine doing that.
No, I think about Harper, who I rescued from Desert Lab, and he was running around in the desert with his sister. So it is, these dogs...
And do you ever see the sister?
I didn't see the sister. She was adopted before we got Harper, but yeah. I did get to meet her personally, I should say. I saw her picture, which beautiful yellow lab. Aww. So we ended up with the chocolate male.
Aww. So WebPT is focusing on 2 values for that's kind of partnering with your panel. And so those 2 values are possess, true, grit, and rock solid. How do you see your organization's values resonating with those 2 specific values, which are possess true grit, and rock solid. We did a little conversation about this when we pre-interview. You guys have made some changes this year that really are demonstrating both of these values.
Aren't those great values? They're excellent values, and they do resonate really well with our rescue. You know, as I mentioned, from 1999 to now, DLRR has grown immensely. And I would say in the past 2 years, we've seen the biggest amount of growth. And that means change. We have to be forward-thinking. We have to be innovative. And this past year, the board has worked with the volunteers to be able to create teams. So typically, a lot of responsibilities would fall to one volunteer. That becomes a lot of work. And our volunteers work hard. They roll up their sleeves. They get in there. They do the hard work. But we didn't want it to be so burdensome for some volunteers. And more people want to be involved, so we want to spread the work.
Right.
So we developed processes, and we developed teams. We have a foster team, an intake team, we have a home visit team, fundraising team, social media team, membership. I could go on. But we have these teams now that are being able to kind of roll up their sleeves, get in the trenches, and work together, number one, but also work more efficiently because they have these processes.
And it probably reduces volunteer burnout, right?
Absolutely.
Which is really...
Because these volunteers are so dedicated. This is tough work. This is emotional work.
Yeah, the whole dog thing, right? Dog people. I've had my Catahoulas for a year, and I've never had puppies or dogs before. Mm-hmm. I'm amazed at how committed dog people are to the dog thing.
They are.
The dog park people and just people that are into dogs are really very committed to making sure that dogs are taken care of and puppies are taken care of.
They are. They're committed. They're passionate. And what's great about this organization is you have a lot of forward-thinking volunteers. So it's not that it's just this. The board of directors needs to be forward-thinking. We've got to listen to the volunteers and their ideas. And it was actually one volunteer that came to the board last year that said, I think we should do an adoption support team. Great idea.
Right.
We have tons of adopters. And sometimes those adopters, they need help. You know, they need resources. They need to talk to somebody. So that's what the team does.
As my Catahoulas are chasing my Cornish Rex cats around, it's oh my God, like, hello, down, leave it, stop, drop it, right? Exactly. So what can you tell other organizations that are charitable about the benefits of partnering with a socially responsible company like WebPT?
Yeah, so we have been it's just been an honor for us to be a recipient of WebPT's generosity. WebPT has not only been a supporter for our biggest fundraiser of the year, which is Corks and Collars. We talked about that being on November 11th at DC Ranch from 3 to 6 p.m. this year. But they have also provided us support. They had a toy gift food drive for us earlier this year. They get us involved in the community. They had a block party that we were invited to. We got to talk about our rescue. We got to promote Corks and Collars. So they've given us a name in the community. So we get name recognition by being partnered with them, which then allows us to get more volunteers and more adopters and more supporters. And with all of that comes a bigger rescue, which means more lives get saved, more pets get rehomed. But we also can then give them name recognition. Which is
one hand washes the other, right?
Exactly. We can talk about what WebPT is doing as a business and a socially responsible company.
And I think it's interesting, the reason why WebPT chose Desert Labrador Retriever Rescue is because Heidi used to have a yellow lab herself. And that yellow lab's name was Tipper. And so they have the Tipper Award.
Right.
And they really do kind of this yellow lab image is really kind of permeated through their entire organization. So of course they would choose you. It makes perfect sense.
Right.
They feel passionate about your organization, but because they have a history, a lab history that is very much embedded in their organization.
Absolutely.
It's very
Heidi's
cool.
been absolutely wonderful.
She's wonderful, right?
She's
right?
very delightful.
Now, the last question I ask everybody that I interview. What have you learned personally about being fearless? Because, you know, whenever you start something new or you run an organization or you change an organization that's been existing, there's always, you know, stuff that can make you stay up at night and give you like little prickly feelings. What have you learned about fearlessness that you can share with other people?
Yeah, so being fearless really means you have to embrace your fears in order to reach your full potential. These dogs, they have humans as their champions. Without us, they don't have anybody else. We're their only voice. So unless we're ready to kind of embrace our fears, evaluate our day-to-day operations, make changes, implement those changes, that's what we're doing for these dogs. And we have to do that. We must be fearless in order to save these animals and provide them the best care and the best forever life.
That's a very interesting way of looking at fear, because you are definitely helping something that can't help itself. So really, there's no choice but to walk through your fear, because if not, a dog dies.
Exactly.
Or it doesn't find a home, or dies in the desert by itself. It's like a bigger mission than just your feelings, right?
Absolutely. And we strive to be perfect, but we're not always successful, and we certainly make our mistakes, right? All of us make mistakes, but it's important for us to learn from those mistakes, right? And to be able to be creative and to make change based on those mistakes. Because if we don't do that, then we're not on our journey of becoming fearless. We're not embracing our fears.
Well, I really want to thank you very much for taking time out to do the interview today.
Absolutely.
I'm really impressed with the work that you're doing.
It's been an honor to be able to talk about Desert Lab. We have a lot of passionate volunteers who work really, really hard, and these labs deserve it. I'm
already thinking about what your panel is going to look like. So I love it when I talk to someone right away and I can start to see what the image is going to look like. So thank you very much. I look forward to working on your panel, and I'm seeing you on February 16th at the Art of Fearlessly Giving Back auction. 10% of all the sales from the auction for the value of the painting goes to the charity, and anything over and above the value of the painting goes directly to your rescue. Plus we'll have print-on-demand objects that people can buy and purchase, and the same thing there. 10% goes to your organization. So we hope to buy a lot of dog food and a lot of blankets and a lot of chew toys, and help a lot of dogs get in a position where they're not pregnant, wandering around downtown Tempe like my dog's mom was. Mm-hmm. She wandered into a parking lot and 3 days later had 9 puppies.
Oh my gosh.
Now I'm the benefactor of that, but we'd like to have that not happen so that we have less dogs out there looking for a home.
Exactly. Well, we are certainly appreciative that we were chosen to be one of the rescues, and I look forward to seeing the piece and being at the opening.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yay.